Good morning. Welcome to another session of Leaders Speak. Bombay Management Association is happy to bring you various programs in form of Wednesday Wisdom Webinar, Friday Fundamentals, and on Saturday mornings, Leaders Speak series. We also have come up with a series where we celebrate Indian managers who made a difference and also the BMA master classes. Do join us for all these series of programs which we are bringing to you to enhance the skills in management and leadership. Today we have one such exemplary leader who is going to share with us his leadership journey, Mr. Ravi Krishnamurthy. Mr. Ravi Krishnamurthy is a life member of Bombay Management Association, a fellow member of the Institute of Directors, and is President Zone 1 at SBI Life Insurance Company Limited. He holds key strategic responsibility for functional guidance to all the areas in the company besides overseeing the business and operating goals. Achieving of the northern states, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Delhi, Punjab, Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, and parts of UP and Uttarakhand, quite a big area. Mr. Krishnamurthy earlier was the Chief Operating Officer of SBI Life. His role included managing pan-India processes, understanding customers, enhancing service, and participating in the company's policy decision. Having worked over a decade with SBI in corporate lending initially, then another decade with ICICI Bank as a part of original startup team to build ICICI Bank, he has varied experiences and expertise in corporate as well as retail banking. Ravi also played a role as a startup team leader at SBI Life and has led SBI Life to success in various aspects of leadership in the insurance industry. Among these, the recent initiative he led for SBI Life to win the 2012 Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award and the world-class title of Asia Pacific Quality Organization's Global Performance Excellence Award 2013. Ravi is certified by Indian Institute of Bankers as well as Indian Institute of Insurance. He holds PGDBM from NMIMS Mumbai in the area of human resources. He's also certified by Directors Club. He also possesses a certificate in business excellence from Columbia Business School. He has varied interest. He is a marathoner, a yoga practitioner. He has deep interest in classical and semi-classical music, volunteer with Isha Foundation, and all of us will remember that he was very instrumental in creating our conclave, which was insurance conclave some time back that we had, where we got very deep understanding about the insurance sector and how the insurance is supporting during this COVID pandemic time. I am happy to welcome you all, Shri Ravi Krishnamurthy, the past presidents, my colleagues in EC, and all the members and non-members who are attending this call. Raviji, thank you for accepting this invitation, and we are very happy that your support you always extend to BMA, and we are very eager to understand and learn how your leadership journey has shaped you and the companies that you have led. Over to you.
Yeah, good morning, Kavita ji, Supriya madam, and Chaya madam, Lakshmi madam. I think it is a privilege for me to be here with all of you, especially when I am called to give you an account of myself in the last 30 years. It is really intriguing for me sometimes when I look back to see what did I start with, what ambition I had, and where did I land with. And I could tell you that when I started off, I had no ambition. So just to give you before, there is a very small presentation, but it is just a presentation to keep the focus. It is not nothing that you need to look into the presentation nor read anything into the presentation. It is just to give you some kind of a focus so that you are landing on a page. And what I'm talking about during the course of these slides is about 5 or 6 points, milestones, or 5 or 6 crucial areas, which I think in retrospect made me a success. In retrospect, it is not that I planned with these things. It just happened that way. I do not know how many of you knew I studied extraordinarily seriously only 1 year in my entire academic year. That was in the 11th standard when I was in Jabalpur. And I thought I must make it to the engineering college. Like all children want to go to engineering college, I thought I should become an engineer, and I studied. But maths was my major weakness, and analytics, analysis, numbers, these were not my strong points. So as it landed, I landed 2% short of the cutoff marks, even for Jabalpur Engineering College, not even REC and IITs and all, forget about it. Not the college which is known for its other activities other than academics. Even there, I could not make it. So then I joined a graduation course, a simple graduation course, without having any idea what I wanted to do. But then the tryst with destiny is I went through college and I met a particular professor, and that he changed the course of my life. He was a physics professor in the Central Ashish College of Jabalpur. If any of you go there, you will still be told that he is the only professor who made sense to any student. And he taught me only Newton's 3 laws for the entire full year of physics. And he struggled with me, he taunted me, ragged me, because he said, you lack rationalism. You just don't like to ask why. And you just mug up things. He said the entire 11th standard mark sheet, you just tear and throw it off. I was very glad to throw it off anyway, because the marks there made no sense to me because I had missed my engineering college. So the whole year we spent time, I went to his house, I read science books, science fiction books, astronomy, and everything except the syllabus that was given, because my professor told me anyway at the end of the year, Ravi, I will give you the question paper. You will pass. So don't bother about the passing part, but you sit with me and let us understand how to use the brain. That was very interesting. So I learned to attack the lazy part of my brain, which is questioning things. So accepting things as it were, mugging up. These were the ways by which all of us grew up in childhood. But then here was a professor who challenged the status quo. And when I told my dad, I don't want to study in this college, I want to go to government science college where routine education is given. So my dad went to his house and he told him, don't ever take your son out of this college. I assure you in 3 years, he'll be a different person. So my father told that, Ravi, you just stick on to whatever he's doing. He's a sensible chap. So I stuck on to him. And in 3 years, we learned few parts of subjects of physics. But what was more important was he taught me how to think. And I would say, friends, that this particular lesson of how to think did not come to me by passion. It came to me by force, by somebody attacking my brain, by somebody attacking the lazy part of my brain, by making me a joke in the class. And then that was the first ever tryst with destiny I had, that I met somebody whom I had never fathomed to meet. I never thought I will meet this guy. And in 3 years, I was different. But then I didn't want to do academics. I wanted to take a job and enjoy life. So I took a job at 18 and a half. I joined as a clerk in State Bank of India. Because that was the only offer that came, I took it up and I was going to the office every day, balancing. The first job I did was as a cashier. So during cash counting, I struggled with counting cash, and as a matter of extraordinary risk management, these days people talk a lot about risk management. So I was risk averse. So I used to always tell the guy on the other side that you have given me 1 rupee short of the note. It 100 rupees nahi hai isme 99 hai. तो बेचारा एक और नोट दे देता था. So end of the day, I used to end up with surplus. So every day I used to end up with surplus. So, so the head cashier said, all guys who pass through NIBM and who join the bank are useless. He said, we used to count cash closing our eyes, and you are counting cash with your own eyes, and still you always end up with surplus, not even 1 rupee deficit. So I told him, see, sir, I don't want 1 rupee deficit because who will pay the shortfall? My father, I have to answer my father. So that is how the first few years of my career started off, where I ended up with surplus. And then there was a head clerk who called me and told me, Ravi, when you're surplus, don't think you're safe. It means that you're corrupt because you're collecting more than what is required from the customer. So that was a big learning for me, that one can't be so risk averse in life that you end up becoming so overcautious that the other side starts losing to you. Maybe you're victorious, but you're over victorious. That was a thought process. And I had a few mentors who told me, don't waste your time in the State Bank, in the clerical cadre, write your probationer's exam and go off. So then at 21, I joined State Bank as a probationer. That is how my first 3 years of my life, between 18 and a half. So you can roughly see today, I have almost finished 40 years of my career. And during that time, I thought I'll do costing exams. I went for a few exams. As usual, I failed because I had no mind to study. So at 21, I joined State Bank, and then one particular event happened which changed the course of my life. Again, I didn't like analysis, numbers. So I kept away from all those departments where State Bank asks you to exercise the skills of analytics and analysis. But then as Providence had it, I think God decided that this fellow is lazy, so he must be exercised and his lazy part of the brain must be put to use. So I was posted without asking for in the credit appraisal department of State Bank of India. I was totally surprised. People asked me, तुमने क्या जुगाड़ मारा? मैंने बोला कुछ भी जुगाड़ नहीं मारा. एक कलीग की शादी अटेंड करने गया था चेन्नई में और वापस आया और ये पोस्टिंग आ रही है. So they posted me there, and maybe some of those officers are also there in this group. They will know what they struggled with me. They struggled a lot with me. But then one of the things that I learned in the credit department, because having gone there, I thought, let me make the best use of it, because people said from credit department, you can go to foreign banks. So I thought, this is my golden chance. I must forget everything. I must exercise the lazy part of my brain and see what I can do with numbers. So number crunching, attention to small things in the balance sheet, that was one part. Understanding how a balance sheet works, how profit and loss works, what are contingent liabilities, what are notes to balance sheet. These things I tried to understand. I had some very good mentors in the department who helped me. And I spent almost 7 days. I was just newly married. I hardly gave time to my wife. But all the 7 days I was working, trying to understand and try to figure out. But one of the very good lessons I learned during that stint about 3 years in the department was, there was a boss who told me that if there is one skill you should get out of this department, it is not about credit. You should get the skill of conceptualization. So he said conceptualization is a very important skill, and you must be able to conceptualize a 50-page lending justification note, a note to justify a loan in your brain, and you must be able to dictate it to your stenographer, and the note should come out of those times the computers are still beginning off. I think we had those small kinds of typewriters. She will type the proposal and you must sign it without a single mistake, maybe a grammatical mistake, a spelling mistake. And then it should go to the board and should get approved. So show me that you can do it. So it was a big exercise. I used to initially start writing the proposals, then it will be rewritten. Then my boss used to correct it. So I used to be becoming more or less like a stenographer. And in State Bank, typically people don't sit, the stenographers don't sit beyond 5 o'clock. So then after 5 o'clock, it is your job to do your own typing, your own stuff. So then the computers came. So then I realized that in the computer, I must go and straight away type my proposal from my brain. So this exercise of trying to conceptualize the note while attending to the smallest detail was a challenge. The reason is, I'll tell you what happens is, it is not to do with credit alone, any subject. Unless you gather all the details required, your conceptual story is never complete. Suppose you complete a story in your mind and later on you start attacking the balance sheet and you find one particular notes in the contingent liability which completely de-justifies the note. So all the story that you have written goes bonkers just because this particular contingent liability I had ignored, or data regarding the conduct of the account in the last 12 months. I must have ignored that, thinking, oh, last mein le lenge data. And that data contradicted every story that I would have written, saying that this customer is X, ये हीरो है, ये अमिताभ बच्चन है, ये वो विनोद मेहरा है, ये विनोद खन्ना है, सब लिखा है. एंड में पता चलता है उसका कॉन्टैक्ट लास्ट 12 months was Access Drawing. So it was very important to gather the details. The skill was to gather the details, aggregate the details, उसको छान देना, figure out how to, what to put, what not to put, how to put across, what to prioritize, what is the sequence, and then conceptualize. And mind you, in this department, time is, nobody has time for you. So a lender, a borrower will come meet the CGM and say, I want a loan in 2 days. You just have 2 days to do all this. So time is not at your liberty, that you don't have 3 months time to do all this. They will call you one evening and say, Ravi, we need this to go to the next board. Board is happening in the next 5 days. If you miss this board, it will go to the next board after 20 days or after 1 month. And the borrower will not wait for 1 month. So then we learned the art of, and by the time I left this department in 94, I had learned the art of from the brain to the keypad. The conceptualization of the big picture plus the ability to attend to the smallest details. And I think I must owe it, and I must be really grateful to the leaders who were my bosses. And the other healthy thing I learned in credit department was you prepare your proposal and you get it challenged by your peers. So I used to go to another department and say, "Ye mera proposal hai, isko challenge karo. Isme kya gap dikh raha hai?" So this way we learned the art of collaboration, and this way I learned how to challenge my cases, how to challenge my philosophy, and find out whether what I am writing is justified. And that is how we used to learn that you put your story through 3 more people who have nothing to do with it. And then if the story still sells, then the board will buy it. So this 4 years of my first innings in State Bank in the credit department, I would say is one of the biggest innings. I remember it now, even today, only because the lesson it gave is a lesson on competence. And I would say that any leadership I felt is about competency. And the competency, I would say, is the biggest concept of competency when you rise up in the career. And what differentiates you from somebody else is whether you can conceptualize while not missing the smallest details. That is also equally important. You conceptualize, but you don't still miss the smallest one. This particular skill came in a very big way. It helped me in a very strong way in many years. I was able to put this skill to test in 2-3 more arenas in the company as I grew. And in the year 99, after I had joined ICICI Bank, I was moved to the cross-selling department, a newly set up department of ICICI Bank. So they said that banks do deposits and loans. Now you have to create capability, competency, willingness, most importantly, willingness in employees to cross-sell. So this was possibly, it is unwritten history, but I can share with you that this was the first ever cross-selling initiative in the industry in India. Much later came other initiatives in other banks and other places. But I started this without knowing what was the past. We had no past. We didn't know the future. And it was also the time when Bank of Madura was merging into ICICI Bank. So there's a lot of chaotic situation, people feeling vulnerable, people feeling insecure. What will happen to my careers? Both sides. And at that point in time, this initiative comes and now you must not only do deposits, you must sell mutual funds, you must sell insurance, you must sell DMAT, you must sell vehicle loans, you must sell car loans. So then how to do this? So again, I was not the master of this, but then there was a very good boss whom I had, and a lovely, exceptionally good boss in the area of conceptual skills. He told me, Ravi, for 3 months, we will tour and we will listen to people. So we did that. We went to every place, listened to people. What are their anxieties? What are their vulnerabilities? What is it that they wanted? And when we came back, we understood that one of the things that we need to do is we need to create ownership of this initiative among the people before we launch. And he said, Ravi, believe me, if we create ownership in employees, you will have no work to do after 6 months. But he said, first 6 months you have to slog. So first 6 months we built a story. We built a very powerful presentation as to why we should do cross-selling. Not how. How comes much later. And you will be surprised how people grabbed it on their own. They understood themselves. What do you think? People have their own skills. Do we think we are so intelligent? People down the line are far more smarter, far more intelligent. So they figured out, but why to do? And this story of building the presentation and then going to town, selling the story of why cross-sell, I had the rare pleasure of working with my boss, Mr. Mohan Shenoy, who's right now with Kotak. He taught me the skill of conceptualization from where I left in SBI to a bigger degree. So this is a second example where after 6 months, we didn't have to do anything. Cross-selling crossed through the roof. People did wonderful cross-selling, upselling, and ICICI Limited was so happy that they owned the bank and their lovely employees. This was the second example of competence building where I believe the biggest competence is building confidence. And confidence comes when you have conceptual clarity. If you have conceptual clarity, you have confidence. So these are two stories which I thought I will bring out to you as to how competence is perhaps a very, very important part of skill building, which took me my own time and my own tryst. It was a struggle. It was a tryst with myself. And I had to challenge myself. And I myself was not a very great, clear guy. I myself had a lot of confusions in my mind. And I do approach, वो बोलते ना खाना खाने के लिए आप ऐसे खाते हैं, तो मैं भी उस तरफ का था. I used to eat my food through the roundabout way. But then putting my brain to task, I built the discipline in the brain to become imaginative and conceptual clarity. So that is why this slide I'm showing you that competence is confidence. And I had several initiatives during the cross-selling project. Even people within the team were doubtful whether we will succeed. They themselves wanted to leave. So it was very important to build confidence among employees as to your team that this will succeed. So you are working on a greenhorn project, a startup, where success is not seen. And you bring employees in who are not sure about their career. They think their career is at jeopardy. And you as a boss have to bring that kind of competency in them, the confidence in them that this is possible, provided we take up the ownership to convince employees. And I'm glad that we convinced employees and did it because we convinced that the cross-selling initiative has become sustainable. And the third example I'll give you, this is the latest example. So what I'm saying is what you learn at 18 and a half and 19 doesn't go waste. What you learn at 22 doesn't go waste. It keeps on getting improved. I kept on improving on my conceptual clarity. And after a very long stint in operations in SBI Life, I was put into the marketing part. So people thought they as much as thought that I was a back-end guy, which is not true because I spent almost 80-90% of my time only convincing people. So I was practically a marketing guy. So when I came to the marketing arena after a very long time in operations, where in operations you are questioned for what you have not done. You're rarely rewarded for what you have done. So from there you move to a different skill set where you drive marketing, you drive sales, you accept few things can go wrong. You don't look at zero defect. So in marketing also, conceptual clarity as to why a particular thing is to be done. And I can share with you that the same conceptual capabilities came to my help. I was able to designed communication strategy, which is not verbose. And I'm proud to say this today. I'm in the marketing arena. I do not conduct any performance reviews. And still I get my job done. Why? Because people have owned their job. They know what to do. They know how to do. And we have communicated it in such a beautiful way through cartoons. I'll show you one of those cartoons, that people were able to absorb it and they themselves decided how to go about it. And I didn't have to tell them that you were short of your budget. They knew they were short and they needed to know what to do next. So this is the biggest learning I got as a leader, that you don't have to be a hard worker. You need to be a smart worker. You need to understand that the other person also knows as much as you, and he's not a fool. So it is important for leaders not to waste the other person's time. Just because he is your subordinate doesn't mean you waste his time. His time is as valuable as you. Let him also figure out. And maybe he also goes home at 6 o'clock. You also go home at 6 o'clock. So this is the first quality that I wanted to bring to the fore today, friends. This is what I learned, that the big picture and the small picture can be bridged. And if the capability to conceptualize and the capability to attend to the smallest details are both built in a human being, then I think that competence builds a lot of confidence, not only to oneself, it builds confidence across people. Everybody understands, everybody moves, it's much easier to function, and organizations grow without much of friction. Next, I will come to another part. Is conceptual capability and attention to detail sufficient? So what happened is, sometimes you come across situations where you cannot conceptualize because you don't have a solution. I remember this. I joined ICICI Bank from SBI in 94. And we were told that, private banks, very easy to do marketing because you have ATM. In 94, ATM was a big story. So we joined ICICI Bank in Bangalore. And in Bangalore, the premises that we got was the third floor of Raheja Towers. If people are familiar with Bangalore, we got a floor which is the third floor of Raheja Towers, where it is not possible to put up an ATM. So lo and behold, we come to a bank to build that bank. Deposits don't exist. So I'm brought in as a lending officer, but I'm told on day one, Ravi, you're a lending officer, but first get me the money to lend. So that means my role was changed on joining. First get me the money to lend. And then we were figuring out ATM nahi hai yaar. ATM nahi hai to kya bechenge hum? And what will we go and tell the town? Nobody knows ICICI. I remember people used to tell ICI, kya hai aapka bank ka naam? This was the state of affairs. So then I had a very good branch manager, a very, very, very good branch manager who was extraordinarily positive. He could be positive in the darkness. When nothing is happening, he can be positive that something will happen. This kind of positivism and optimism I never seen in an individual. He was my mentor. As life has it, I got mentors at various points of time in my life. And this gentleman told me, let's all crack this. So we all sat together and thought, ATM to nahi hai, kya bechenge? And then please remember, ground floor, Grindlays Bank with an ATM. Right hand side, Deutsche Bank with an ATM. So, and third floor, ICICI Bank. New private sector generation bank. What do you offer? Nothing, because you don't have an ATM. So we said, what do we have to sell? What do we go to town with? There is already a Grindlays Bank, which is at least 5 years old. It has an ATM on the ground. So we decided we will build a new story. We said we'll put up lockers on the third floor. And we said that we will tell customers that this is one towers, Raheja Towers is one towers, where if you went into a bank on the ground floor, everybody standing in the street will know that you came to a bank. But if you come to ICICI Bank on the third floor, you can operate your locker and nobody in town would know, nobody in the streets would know that you ever went to a bank. And Bangalore had a lot of high net worth customers who were very privy to their locker services. They were very confidential. So they always liked this idea. And so we went to town with that idea. The second thing we did was we propped up service. We said that we will give you extraordinary service. And so we built teams with willingness to serve customers unconditionally. And so what happened was this entire story of ICICI Bank becoming a success in the 5 years was a collective effort of 17 odd people who believed in something when there was nothing to believe in. So I would say that creative capability is a must for a leader. A leader cannot grow if you don't have creativity, because your subordinates are looking at you for a solution when there is no solution. And soon in 3 years, we built such a big brand of ICICI Bank without having an ATM. And mind you, at a time when Citibank came with Suvidha, with off-site ATMs. And we didn't even have an ATM at least for 2 to 3 years. And still, we were practically #1 private sector bank in the city. So this is a very good example, friends, of why we always operate under conditions and say, ye kaam nahi kar raha hai, wo kaam nahi kar raha hai. This is not working to my environment. The economic environment is negative. That's why I'm not doing well. It is not true, dear. Out of box is the key differentiator. So it is out of box which makes a difference, whether we think differently. And to think differently, please move away from the solution. You think of the problem, you'll never get the solution. One of the ways to think out of box is, if you're not getting any solution, go and watch a good English movie. Or go to the gardens. And we did that precisely. I think all of us went out for a movie in the night. And we also went to Lal Bagh Gardens and just enjoyed ourselves and came, and suddenly some bright ideas came. If you don't keep talking about the problem, the solution can emerge. This is the beauty of the mind. It is a rare part of the brain which becomes functioning when you don't think of the problem. I'll give another example of how creativity works. I went to Vizag, and within a year I was posted back into the corporate banking branch of Bangalore. So when I came to corporate banking, this was year 99. You all know 99 is a bad year for Indian economy. Practically lending had stopped. Whatever loans were available were at around 17%, 18%. So we were told very clearly, no lending. We are all having a lot of non-performing assets. So as head of corporate banking, you don't have a loan target. What the hell do I do? So I was looking at my team, and my team was looking at me and saying, what do we do? So same thing. Then I remembered my boss had a problem 4 years back in the Bangalore office when we didn't have an ATM. We found a solution. This is my turn now, because now I'm the branch manager. Now the leaders are looking at, the team is looking at me for a solution. And we came with the idea of cross-sell. So this is how the birth of cross-sell happened. We said, we'll go to corporates, we'll go to Infosys, we'll go to TCS, we'll go to Mindtree, we'll go to Deepak Cables. We'll go to all the companies and tell them, we don't have loans to offer, but we can give your employees housing loan. We can give your employees car loans. We can give your employees credit cards. We can give them insurance, and so on and so forth. So we thought, how do we measure this? So I'm a big fan of measurement. So then my team and me, we sat together. And generally, I operate not as a subordinate boss relationship. I've learned over a period of time that it doesn't work. If you're only fooling yourself thinking you're sitting in a king's throne. If you work as peers, you get brilliant ideas. And we worked out a grid where the company's name on the left-hand side and the number of products that can be sold to a company on the right-hand side. And we started marking how many products have we pitched. So it is on that evening that one of those evenings that Dr. Nachiket Moore came to my office. And I'm very proud about it, because he came to my office and said, Ravi, I've come to your office. Tell me what you want to say. So I showed him the grid. I told him, this is what me and my team have done, sir. There is no lending possibilities. This is what you've done. He's a corporate banker. I was thinking, why the hell am I telling him about retail? Next day, I got my transfer to ICICI Bank's corporate office to head the cross-selling initiative. Mr. Sinor called me and told me, Nachiket told me that you have built an out-of-box solution. So that's why I'm saying this is, friends, for leadership, it is very necessary to have out-of-box ideas. Creativity is a very key component. You can have a lot of competency, you can build a lot of knowledge, but without out-of-box solution, it is not possible, because every time situations will come where there are no possible solutions known in the past textbooks. So these are two examples I thought I will give you of out-of-box solutions. Another small example which is worth mentioning here is when I went to ICICI Vizag to set up a new branch, I took one good decision. I said I never want to be with the status quo. So I was doing well in Bangalore. Then I said I want to go to a new city, unknown language, and set up a new branch. Let me see how it happens. If I fail, I fail. So I went to Vizag. I didn't know the local language. And I was to set up a branch and I had to recruit people. So everything was like a startup. So there we were the last entrant in the city. HDFC, other banks were much ahead of us. So we said we should still beat them. So what is the way? One of the things that my mother gave me as a part of her DNA or gene is possibly that maybe she told me that you must have an extraordinary appetite to win. And I used to be dead competitive to win. So, except that my winning appetite stopped after 9th standard because I was bored with that syllabus and that education system. So, between 9th and maybe at the age of 14 to 18, I fared very poorly in studies because I was bugged up with the education system. But then in ICSI Vizag, I didn't know how to create the hype. When everybody knows how private banks function, what is the unique proposition? So I don't know how many of you are from Vizag, but I went with my colleague in a scooter and we went to Jagdamba Junction. So Jagdamba Junction is a busy marketplace in Vizag and there was a retail cloth store. And we saw hundreds of people standing there, queuing up and buying cloths. Nothing great. They're buying shirts. So I was wondering, there are so many other Raymond showrooms which are vacant, but this cloth store is full. So I understood that human psychology doesn't work on brand. It works on how you create the hype. So I said to my colleague that what we should do is on day one of opening, we must have 500 people thronging the branch. And people must be literally snatching bank account opening forms from us to open a bank account. How do we go and create this hype in the market? So we went and created a hype in the market. We did a lot of door-to-door marketing. I was literally on my scooter. We went town to town and I took up one very good thing. I said, Vizag is a place, you understand psychology, so you get some creativity. Vizag is a place where people are very fond of education. I saw all parents very, very passionate about their children's education. And Andhra Pradesh is typically like that. People are very focused on education. So I said, I'll go and teach in schools. So I went to all the schools and offered myself, I can teach you 1 hour of English. I can teach you 1 hour of history. So I became famous in the schools. Because I became famous in the schools, the parents started knowing me. And because parents started knowing me, my team gathered around there and they built a hype saying that these are the products offered, but we are not offering it now. We're going to offer it on day one. So the whole town was reverberating, which is that day one. And we deliberately delayed the launch, partly because the ATM did not land in time. And on day one, my boss, Mr. P.H. Ravi Kumar said, Ravi, in this opening alone, I saw 500 people on the day one, like a retail cloth store, literally snatching away account opening forms. Ki mujhe aaj account kholna hai. This is another example of not only creativity, it is also about collective energy building. It is not just you have a creative idea that things will work. It is how do you translate that into willingness and passion of your employees. And I'm very proud that the employees of that branch were so passionate that they built on the ideation more and more. And they came with different kinds of ideation. And we went around, and by the time I left Vizag, I was one of the most popular guest lecturers in the University of Vizag. So this is why I'm saying that if you observe unconnected items, not items directly connected, like went to Jagdamba Junction and into a retail cloth store, nothing to do with the bank, then you don't get boxed into the problem. And that is why I say out of box is a key differentiator in leaders. There are leaders with competencies like in slide 1, but then there are leaders who may not have that kind of conceptual skills, but they have creativity. And creativity is a highly valued skill, my dear friends, in the industry, because we need people to crack solutions for problems which have never existed before. So this is a second example I wanted to give you. The third one, which is a little different, is what I call, and which I am very keen about, is personal leadership. Personal leadership means first things first. Personal leadership. How do you conduct yourself? What kind of a person you are? Are you a good human being? I am saying this, are you a good human being? I've seen so many extraordinary leaders in the industry who are lousy human beings. What's the point? What are we carrying? Ultimately, leader, subordinate, team, person with a job, jobless man, everybody will go to the grave only. But the only difference is who is going to do good to society and who. And to do good to society, you must do good to yourself first. And what is the first good thing you can do for yourself is personal leadership. So as I told you all, I was never good at education. But then what happened was, in year 2002, there was an offering online in ICICI that you can do online education from Narsimha Moji Institute of Management Studies. And then I thought, graduation, BSc, bol ke thak gaya hu. Let me also say I have done something. So I joined a DHRM course in NMIMS, and I chose human resources because I thought that there's one thing which I want to do well. I want to do well on human resources. And the reason is not very far away from seeking. Despite my extraordinary innings in Vizag, I lost in the promotion process that year because my superior told me that you are extremely good, but not so good in HR, not so good in people handling. This was a shock because I thought I was good in people handling. So what you think about yourself and what others people think are different, and what other people think only matters. So I realized that all my self-obsession that I am a great HR leader is all nonsense. I think I have serious issues, and I flunked in an interview. And the only feedback given to me is go and talk to your teammates. They appear to be happy with you on your face, but actually they're not happy with you. They feel that you took all their credit. So this was a shocker to me. But at the same time, I realized that yes, at some point of time, I got carried away. So then I thought that I must invest on my personal leadership. So I started working on small pieces. So one was that, how do you build a greater self-esteem? And the best way to build self-esteem is you do something different from yesterday, or you change one habit. So I was a lazy guy. I used to get up late at morning. The first thing I decided is I'll get a half an hour early. Small personal leadership. But what I found was every time I did something different in my habits, I became that much more confident and my self-esteem improved. The next week I said I will go for a walk for 15 minutes. My self-esteem further improved. Then I thought I will go and learn yoga somewhere. And when I pushed myself, when I threatened to change my own DNA and my own habits, things started happening. And I remember in the Vizag airport, I bought that book, which I cherish as the best book I ever read, which is nothing new, which is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. And I read that book 4 times over. I read the Principles Center Leadership and then subsequent books. But the 7 Habits, I ingrained it. I remember I made a small placard of it and kept it in my office. And I started thinking, first habit, how much I've got. And I know Stephen Covey gives you a weekly sheet of monitoring. I started monitoring that, and my personal leadership started improving. Personal leadership, my own leadership on myself. I started gaining supremacy on myself. I started gaining supremacy on my habits. So I knew that I could change my habits. So when I started changing my habits, the empowerment that I was giving for me started increasing. And that followed with education in the later half. I went on to do my DHRM, NMIMS. I went on to do my III in insurance, even when I was a banker. Then recently, of course, I become a life member of the Institute of Directors. I've become a quality circle member of Dr. Suresh Lula's prestigious Certified Qualitist Club. And of course, one thing which I would never forget to say here is personal leadership. To what I have become, I owe it to Rahul Yadavatkar, who coached me when I offered to become a guinea pig. So Rahul was doing his coaching certification those days. So Rahul asked me that as part of coaching certification, I need to coach somebody. Would you like to be a guinea pig? I said, yes, I'm willing to be a guinea pig. I used to be working in Belapur those days, and Rahul's office was in Andheri side. So every day by train, I'll come down, meet him. In 16 weeks, I met him. It was a huge change. And I recommend strongly that every organization should have leadership coaching as part of their curriculum, and they should encourage employees to go for coaching, because coaching is different from training. Because during the coaching process, there are live projects, and one such live project which came was, I had a lot of inhibition talking to my peers those days. So Rahul understood me, did my SWOT, and then he told me, one project is now, Ravi, you go and meet all your peers and ask them what do they think of you. I told Rahul, I didn't bargain for this. I never came to you for all this year. मैं तो नहीं जाना चाहता हूँ, वो तो मेरे बारे में इतनी खराब चीज बोलेंगे, बोला आप जाओ तो सही. So I went, and you won't imagine, I got so much of valued inputs from my peers and my bosses that I was left rich for the rest of my life. And that is why I say that first things first, personal leadership is to constantly change your DNA. DNA came biologically, but who said that DNA cannot be changed? And unless we change our DNA, we really can't become somebody else. All career upliftment, career paths depend on your changing something of what you are. If what you are, you will be. You say कि मैं जो हूँ मैं रहूँगा, तो आप जहाँ रहेंगे वहीं रहेंगे. Or accidentally in our company, in our typical corporate careers, जहाँ मैं बोलता हूँ famous story कि अगर आप बोरीवली में ट्रेन में बैठ गए तो आप चर्च गेट तो पहुंच ही जाएंगे, धक्के मार के भी तो पहुंच जाएंगे. But that's not the way I wanted to get it. I wanted to get in on my own. I didn't want to get pushed to church gate. So I said, "Ki, this is a good thing. I must invest in myself and build a leadership which is capable of servicing my teams. I'm not here to rule my teams. I'm here to service my teams. My team's happiness, my team's joy, my team's capability building, everything is my responsibility. So I have the first business is I must put things in order and put first things first and put my personal leadership ahead of everything else. I must be a leader of my own body and mind." So that is how I went on to run marathons, which Kavita mentioned. So marathon was not in my genes, but I said every day I'll go and run. And those days, please imagine, I was working in Belapur. I was staying in Andheri. I used to take the 7:25 train to Belapur. And still at 5 o'clock, I used to get up, go to Juhu Beach, do my run, come back, do my yoga, and still go to office and come back. So everything is possible if you decide that I will change my DNA. So the yoga, marathon, everything became part of my system between 2003, 4 and 5. And the most important thing was obviously that in 2004, 5, I shifted my organization from ICICI to SBI Life. Again, to get into a startup. I wanted to get into another startup where a new company is struggling, and let's see whether we can contribute to make it a success. And that's how my journey started off. Next. So then let me come to another crucial component of leadership, which is what I call as the listening skill. So I call it listening is actually communicating. So why so? So what happens is that when I came to SBI Life, what I noticed was that I was given in charge of operations. And unlike banking, insurance, sales and operations are quite a bit miles apart, in the sense that there are huge conflicts of interest. So a sales guy is very aggressive. The ops guy has to underwrite a sales guy's proposition. So they don't see eye to eye. So but then we needed, our goals were turnaround time. For example, let me give you a simple example. We had a goal of turnaround time. So we all sat together as a team and thought what is the best way we can do it. But these people said without sales guy support, we can't do it. They need to bring quality. And sales guy, insurance and quality, they're poles apart. So we decided that we will win them over to our goals. But then we said, but the sales guys don't report to us. They report to their structure. We report to our structure. These are delineated structures. So in delineated structure, how can I sell my goal to the other guy and win him over? Then we worked on, and I must thank my teams at that time, who were also like me, startup employees. They also had no background. But we all put our collective brain together and we started thinking of methods by which we will go to the sales guys, attend their meetings, and in the middle of the hall proclaim that this is mine and your, both our goals. And things started happening. There was a beautiful collaboration which started off, and I will never feel tired of thanking my the projects team, the IT team, and the ops team of my company who worked when nothing was there. And that's why I say it is not that these skills reside only in me. I think once we kindle this kind of skills of collaboration, the skills of creativity reside in every human being. And they came with fantastic ideas of development of both technology side and operation side, that the ops wing became the strongest wing in the company. And self-believers, people who are low profile, humble, down to earth, not known for sales and marketing, they were actually doing sales and marketing. And what were they doing? They were going to each sales session and listening. They will listen to complaints, they will listen to grievances and keep on listening. And the fact that we listen actually became the communication. People started respecting us because we listened. So friends, listening is actually communication. The more we quieten down ourselves, the less we speak and the more we listen. Actual communication starts because the respect for the other, for yourself increases, and people start giving you valuable ideas, and then we begin to collaborate. So then the subordinate boss relationship vanishes, and then you have a collaborative relationship. It's just coincidence that somebody was born later than you, he is your subordinate, or somebody is joined at a particular point of time when times are not good and they happen to be subordinate. Otherwise, I really don't see there is no great difference between boss and subordinate. It is just that it is just situational issues. Otherwise, everybody has the same capabilities. So we actually made things happen by purely listening and taking feedback. And one such very good opportunity for feedback came when we entered the Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality. Kavita mentioned about our RBNQA. I must thank my superior, Mrs. Malti Narasimhan, who guided us in this. And she helped us to understand that unless you have a process by which somebody questions you outside, from an outside industry, you will never learn. And the Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award I recommend it as the best possible solution for most corporates because it allows you to introspect. And during the process of introspection, I learned a lot about organization. And organizational questions which come up are different from small process questions. They are at a much higher level. And therefore, they blended with my first experience in the career, which is my conceptual skills. So RBNQA was kind of questioning the concept and therefore building on the conceptual skills. And that is why I say that listening is actually communicating. And this skill of listening is in leadership actually doesn't exist because we get so self-obsessed. Suppose today at the end of this session, all of you say that this session is great. I might get self-obsessed and I may start thinking I'm a great fellow. That is where the downfall starts. Listening is actually communicating. So you keep listening, you take feedback. People say good things, fine. That's nice. It boosts my confidence. Definitely, I'm not going to shrug it off. But that need not make me self-obsessed. But leaders sometimes become so full of themselves that they stop listening to the outside world. And that is where the actual good leaders also start falling. Next, Rohit. So I'll come to this. This is very important. Of course, this is my poster that we have developed within the company. You don't have to see what is there in that. But what I want to say is that how pictures can convey 10 times more than words. So many a times I see when I came to marketing in the beginning, I saw people holding hours and hours of reviews. Kitna karoge? Kal kitna hoga? Parso kyun nahi kiya tumne? So yeah, I got bored. I said, hey, kaun karega yaar? That fellow is also giving a gas. The fellow below sales guy is happily giving a story. And the boss is buying it because he has no choice, because he has asked a question. Suppose I ask you a question, how much sales have you done yesterday? You say 100 lakhs. Why didn't you do 130 lakhs? Haan sir, 130 lakhs karenge. What choice you have? You will buy it. So I saw that these painful reviews where 100 people are queued up. The remaining 99 people are working on their mobiles. The one fellow is answering. When that fellow is 100, he goes back to his mobile. It doesn't work. For a leader, you need to I should value my time. Forget about wasting my subordinates' time. I must at least not waste my time. I know anyway 99 fellows are busy with something else. They're not going to look at you. Then I decided that maybe we should work on conceptual capabilities and building vision in people. So we started thinking of devising pictures. And Rohit was there with me in the group hosting this presentation as one of my team members who has helped me. So we started building many such captivating posters, which actually convey more than many reviews and many hours of views. So people get buy-in into these posters and they know what the company wants. We tell them that if you do this, your career in the company grows. So people start working on that themselves. After all, an insurance guy knows how to sell. I don't have to go and tell him. But what he needs to know is, how is my selling linked to my future in the company? That is what he's interested in knowing. He knows how to sell. And if he doesn't sell, it is not because he doesn't know how to sell. It is because he's decided that my selling doesn't make a difference to the company. Or whether I sell or not, somebody else will sell. You know, these two things happen. People think, मैं नहीं बेचूंगा तो दूसरा कोई बेचेगा. और अगर मैं बेचूंगा तो भी क्या होगा, बाकी 99 पीपल तो बेच नहीं रहे हैं. अच्छा, सभी लोग ने भी बेचा तो क्या होगा, कंपनी का तो मैनेजमेंट ही तो सब कुछ लेगा. So ये three questions come to all people's mind. It came to my mind also when I was a subordinate. So I logically thought that we must convey the bigger vision of the organization, saying that if we are building a career in a company for the next 15-20 years, these are the obstacles. And if you cross these obstacles, this is what you will reach. And if you reach those goals, then you will reach your future. Your family's future is secure. You have a permanent job in this company for the next 25 years. Because the company's fortune is permanent. If you make the company's fortune permanent, your job is permanent. So this is what we did, many pictures. But pictures convey at 10x speed than words. And leaders' ability is to build pictures. And I'll give you a small example. Where did this come from? Very innocuous example. Way back in around 25 years, I was in Bangalore and I took my child to a doctor, a small child doctor, and he was drawing on a large A4 size paper. So I thought maybe he is doing drawing as a passion, but he was keeping a textbook with him. So I asked him, "Doctor, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm studying for my post-graduation in medical medicine." So I said, "Then what are you drawing?" He said, I read this chapter and I draw it on an A4 size paper to conceptualize and put it into my brain. So I said, that's very interesting. But then I asked him, how do you go about it? Then what he was doing was, he was doing it in his own freelance. He was studying. The guy who wrote the textbook wrote it the way he understood. Please remember. But the way I read it, I will absorb it the way my brain is made. So what do? I draw it on an A4 size paper. Please remember, a large A4 size paper is important. Why? Because it has no boundaries. You can draw on the left side, right side, top side, bottom side, any side. Because there is no limit to your imagination. Typically what you are saying is, there is no limit to my imagination. So you take a large A4 size paper and you draw on all sides and you connect the points and put those bullet points which you're reading in the chapter. As you keep doing this, you realize that creativity grows, and by creative using the right side of the brain, you're absorbing what is typically a left side brain creation through the right side, and it permanently stays. In that exercise I did it many times. Entire my DHRM and NMIMS I did through this process only. I read the syllabus through drawings and I captured it into my brain, so that even today, after 15 years after my graduation, after my post-graduation, I know what HR is. Because it has gone into my brain through the creative side of my brain, the imaginative side of the brain. And this is, I have used it to my strength. See, for many people, the right side of the brain is weak, the left side is very strong. For me, the right side is strong because I'm a musician. So for me, the right side is very strong, the artistic side is very strong. So I try to use that to capture the essence of the left of the theoretical stuff. So that is when, after many years, I used pictures as a methodology of conveying to people what we expect. And the results are astounding. I would say that I am one of the very few guys in the company. I don't know how many people are there from the company watching this, but then I'm very proud to say that I don't waste others' time, I don't waste my time. And still things happen because people are voluntarily now into the business. That's a lot of difference. So let's come to the other part of what I wanted to mention, and that is next slide, Rohit. This is very important, and thus I consider it as something which is most important in life. I've seen all kinds of intelligent people in life. There are people who have succeeded better than me in life. There are people who have done far, far superior than me. But what has held me in good esteem for a very average person, I still consider myself a very average intellect, that grace is very important in life. You can just about do anything in life with grace. And what is grace? Nothing much. You don't go to the temples and pray, you don't go to the churches and pray. I remember at the age of 16, my dad had picked up from my grandfather's library some books. Everybody picked up some things. People picked up some worship idols. Some people picked up some books. But my father was a fond reader of spiritual books, so he picked up some books and he kept them in the library. So I picked up one book which is called Revelation. And this book is by Swami Shivananda. So I just happened to read that and I saw, be good, do good. I said, this is interesting here. Nobody is asking me to go and pray. Nobody is asking me to do anything. He's saying just be good and do good. And this is very difficult, friends. You can pray. You can say Lalita Sahasranamam, Vishnu Sahasranamam, everything 1,000 times a day, but you can't become good. Becoming good requires a lot more. I'm not saying that those routes won't lead you to. Those routes also will. They are also modus operandi. But to be good and do good, you need to be genuine within. So if you're a good human being and you are willing to apologize for something wrong that you did to anybody, including your subordinate, I think grace has arrived in you. And grace is very important, friends, because grace helps you to go beyond your body and mind and operate through your consciousness. And I am a personal experience of that. And the change happened to me year 2004. People in ICICI will remember I had a major tuberculosis illness. I had a major surgery on my left leg. And I did the inner engineering program with Isha Yoga Foundation in year 2004 without even knowing what it is. And then I ran the 21-kilometer Mumbai Marathon thrice after a surgery on my left leg. This is not because of any physical ability. It is sheerly because through grace, you wiped out your illnesses. And the major illness is in the mind. One of the things that happened after the surgery was I became mentally depressed. I started thinking that I can't do anything in life. It was at that point of time that I had, in fact, I had attended the SBI Life interview on a crutch. But then from there till now, what has carried me is I took the plunge, I took the initiative to do what is required. I knew that I needed a yoga program, a structured yoga program to do it. This was the first program I came across. Some other program had come, I would have done that also. But this was the one I came. I just thought, let me do one simple thing, whatever can I do. I did 21 minutes. They taught me some inner engineering meditation. I decided to do it for the rest of my life. I said, I won't do anything more than that, but that's good enough. And then that helped me in a big way to make myself graceful. So grace is not God-given. Grace is, you become graceful. How do you become graceful? You become a good human being. Now, how do you become a good human being? You must lead by conscious choice. And you must volunteer yourself to life. Today, when I go to office, I don't go to office to work. I volunteer myself to life. If today I have to work in this office, I work. Tomorrow I am told to work in some other office, I work. It is just volunteer. I am a volunteer to life. I am dedicated to the life. I am devoted to life. If I am devoted to myself, to what needs to be done, I am devoted to the universe. And that is how grace is invited. Though modern management does not talk about grace as a fundamental concept of good leadership, people talk of good leadership, all the other qualities which I mentioned, any textbook will have it. In some form or the other, some more qualities will be there. Nobody talks of grace because people feel that, oh, that is all different. That is all metaphysical. Friends, I have experienced it. I feel that whatever be your education, whether you are a thrice brilliant person or a very ordinary person, having some practice by which you access the inner divine within you is extremely necessary. There is an inner divine within us. we have to access that divine at least for 15-20 minutes a day, whichever be that method. And if we do that, we become volunteers to life, we become dedicated to life, we become devoted to life. And then you can see life is magic. Life is magic not because you achieve your numbers every day, or because you achieve your targets every day, or because your employees are happy with you all the time. It is only because you are willing to learn from life during the course of your task today, and therefore tomorrow is going to be a better day. Every day is going to be better. Every day I'm going to challenge my DNA. Every day I'm going to think that my DNA has to be challenged. Something in my DNA has to be changed. I will not allow routinism of my DNA. I will not allow routine things to happen in my habits. मैं हमेशा दांत ऐसे ही साफ करता हूं, मैं ऐसे ही खाना खाता हूं, मुझे करेला पसंद नहीं है. I will challenge this, because by challenging it, I am challenging the habits that govern me, the habits that ride over me, and make the habits become my slaves. That is why I say be an offering. Whatever part of life, whatever you are doing, whether societal work, voluntary work, non-voluntary work, work that is, or a job that you're taken up only because you have to feed your family. You don't like to work in that company at all. Nothing is the way you want, but you have no choice. But you work because that is what is important. That is what is you're volunteering for. You're volunteer to life. So be an offering. And whatever people call as luck, charisma, everything is only grace. So charisma comes when you reach out to somebody who will never listen to you, and yet he listens. So why does he listen? People say, oh, तुम्हारा luck था, या बोलेंगे आप बहुत charismatic हो. नहीं, that is because you're graceful. Your inner grace reaches the other person, and the other person understands the genuinity in you, that he will listen to you even if he has never listened to this in the past. Believe me, so far all the 5 components which I spoke to you are actual experience. You can read anywhere. The 6th one is only my experience. I have no proof, but I am the living proof of that. Next, Rohit. So leadership or life is only a constant daily engineering of your body, mind, and consciousness. Be devoted to what needs to be done and become a volunteer. You keep offering yourself every bit of what you have, every bit of what you learn all the time, and keep listening, so that you imbibe from others whatever you can. I still remember how efficiently one of my messengers in State Bank, in my clerical cadre, used to stitch the vouchers. How efficiently he used to stitch the vouchers. And I used to think that, yaar, ye to main nahi kar pa raha. Because those days, you remember, we used to count the notes, we used to put the label, and we are supposed to use the punching machine, and we are supposed to tie the knots. But then, as usual, I was useless as it. So the messenger used to come and help me. And I used to think, ye to itna badhiya kaam karta hai. What was his education? Hardly matriculation. So it is not about status of life. It is about how much somebody is devoted to life. If somebody is more devoted than you to life, even if he is a messenger or a tea vendor in your company, in my company, I will salute you. I know how many of my security guards, when I go home every day, they say, good evening, sir. They are paid to say good evening, but then they smile and say good evening. I do think it is my duty to say good evening, because this guy has managed my affairs, managed the entry to my office all through the day. He's done a wonderful job of it. So with this, I kind of close my session of some learnings in my life through my anecdotes, some experiences, some creative situations where we didn't have solutions and where we as a team did. And I devote the session completely to my ex-bosses, my seniors, my peers and my subordinates, my team members, my family members, who helped and guided a very below average guy. 62%, 61% is my BSc marks. So that I'm still proud of, because I just managed to get 61. And I remember that year was some ad hoc year in the University of Jabalpur that they gave 5 grace marks to all of us, but for which I would have been a 2nd class graduate, which would have been even better, because then in that case, I would have known that anyway, what I was doing was only routine. So I'm doing more sensible things, but 5 grace marks were given. And as a result, because that year everybody fought, the papers are very tough. And it was very common in the university that लोग लड़ते हैं कि पेपर बहुत टफ है, marks मिलना चाहिए. तो मुझे भी 5 ग्रेस मार्क्स मिल गए थे. वहां से यहाँ तक आना, आई थिंक इट इज गॉड्स ग्रेस and support of all the team members, all the people who played a lovely life in my career, that I'm today with you, volunteering myself to this session to tell you what went through me, what all I did, and to where I came today. Every one of you is possible. I'm not saying you can become a president. Maybe you'll become a managing director. Maybe you'll become chairman. Maybe you become a local MLA. Or maybe you may be a great leader of your family. It's all the same. You could be a good parent. You could be a good child, good student. So leadership is not about social status. It just coincidentally happens that you get some status. Status vanishes. In 2 years, my status will vanish after I retire. Nobody will care a damn what I was. But what is important is that the learning that we got, if we are able to imbibe it in people, I think it is a huge service to society that people understand that these qualities, which I mentioned, conceptual clarity, attention to details, creativity, ingenuity, out-of-box thinking, listening as an art of communication, using the right brain better for communicating with people. Left brain is logical brain, that I know this is correct because I think it is correct because I know why it is correct. So in all this, I is the most dominant part. And that is the left brain guy. The right brain guy talks हवा, चाय पीते हैं, समोसा खाते हैं, क्या बात है भाई, किस बात पे दुखी हो, and suddenly solution come out. This is right brain thinking. I am a firm believer in the right brain thinking because I believe that there you connect with the individual. You don't connect with the logic. No two logics can meet. Farmers union logic and government's union logic never matched. They should have done painting together. They should all sat together and done a good artwork in the Maidans of Delhi. Pollution also would have become lesser and they would have trashed out a solution also. I believe firmly that maybe the farmers union and the government could have sung together a music program. They could have done an orchestra. Ice would have melted and people would have seen eye to eye. Logic mein kabhi baat nahi banti. Because everybody's logic is different. Your logic is different. My logic is different. So all of us are very, or I would say all of us are too highly educated. So काम नहीं बनती है. So I leave it open to questions. Anything that I can serve you, any questions that you feel that I can answer and help you, I'm most available.
Thank you, Ravi ji, for that very inspiring talk and your experiences, which you have very interestingly put forward. I liked the right brain and the left brain focus that you kept on. And all these talk, I am reminded when you said that I am just a volunteer. It's a sign of a karma yogi, which the Indian philosophy and the Hindu mythology talks about, that you keep yourself away from what the karma is and challenging yourself, understand why and not what. All these things are very striking and I think it will be very useful for all of us. I'm sure all the participants in this webinar and those who will be listening to this webinar on YouTube will be again thinking about their careers, their way of thinking, challenging themselves. So my simple question to you is, when we are talking about introspection and within the team, in the hierarchy of responsibilities, have you ever come across a situation where the responsibility is there, but the authority is not there to take decision or to implement? So are there any situations where the responsibility is given, but the authority is not there? And before you answer, I will request the participants to put their videos on so that we can take a photograph, and also request, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. We will be giving, you can open your audio and ask the question. So over to you, Ravi ji.
So this, I did give you one example of this, but I will bring it out a little bit more elaborately. The most classical part of this story is you work in the back end of a company. So you are in the ops and IT, and you have to deliver something which is called, like, say, the turnaround time of issuance of an insurance policy. Where does the game start? The game starts when the sales guy is talking to the customer. 90% of the game is in the sales guy's hand. He is filling up the form. The quality is with him. But when I underwrite, I am questioned for turnaround time. Now, this is a classical example of where you have responsibility, but you don't have authority to tell to. I would say that boss, sales guy मेरे को report कर ले, मैं दिला दूंगा TAT. But boss, अगर वो आपको report करेगा ना, तो sales guy रहेगा ही नहीं वो. He will stop being a sales guy because he will lose his adrenaline. The moment a sales guy reports to ops guy, he becomes, what do you call, वो उसका puncture हो गया cycle. तो sales guy रहेगा ही नहीं वो. He'll become as muted and humble like me. So he has to be different. He has to be haughty, arrogant. He has to be aggressive. That's the way he does his business. So there we saw a classical way by which we had responsibility, but we didn't have authority. But we said, yeah, let that guy report to me. But then they never report. And still you have to get your job done. So what happens is, Kavita, leaders win not because they have authority. It is a very mistaken notion that because authority is there, people win. It is because you have charisma that you win. And charisma is what? Grace. If you appeal to the other guy by your personality, even if he's a sales guy, he will say, boss, there is value in what he's saying. I tell him, look, yaar, if I delay your policy, you get delayed. And your customer is unhappy, you can't sell him a second policy. Suppose you bring me a bad quality life, the premium price will go up in 6 months' time, and you yourself will be undone in the market. So we make the people see sense in the way they want. Number one. Number two, we solve their problems. How do we solve? We give them training. So when we train the guys, they start appreciating our point of view. And then there is a bridging point at which the sales guy says, "ठीक है, this much quality I assure you. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं पूछना. इससे ज़्यादा मैं करूँगा तो मैं दिन में 10 पॉलिसी नहीं बेचूंगा, सिर्फ एक ही पॉलिसी करते रहूँगा पूरे दिन. मैं भरते ही रहूँगा फॉर्म." So I understand his limitations. I reach a meeting point. I'm not ideal. कि उसको मैं 6 सिग्मा करवाऊंगा. वो 6 सिग्मा हो गया तो कंपनी खत्म हो जाएगी. Sales guy has to be a sales guy. So, and particularly insurance, it is really nice, amazing how these people are so different. And insurance salesmanship, I would say, is one of the very high points of salesmanship. It's very difficult art. You have to select life. You have to select the right life. You have to be very ethical. And at the same time, you must deliver in time. You must service the customer properly. So that way, I felt that authority and responsibility are different. You could have authority, but yet you may not be responsible. And I've seen a lot of guys with a lot of authority becoming useless leaders because they're not responsible. I think it's the other way around. If you're responsible, authority is handed over to you. I remember a time when ops guys were crowned kings in the company because they said, boss, तुम्हारे बिना तो हमारी काम नहीं चलती. So that question is, how do you devote yourself to life?
Yeah, interesting. What you said is, I was looking at it from responsibility and authority. You just reversed it to a different perspective. Thank you very much. And I also liked what you said of changing your DNA every time. But before that, I will request Narayana S to ask his question. He has raised the hand.
Yeah, yes, Narayan.
Narayanji?
Yes, muted.
Now I'm unmuted. I couldn't unmute myself. I
Yeah,
used to work with Ravi earlier. So I think maybe 20 years back. One of the things I want to ask Ravi sir is, I have learned from him is whenever I had an idea, any of us had an idea. He used to manage a whole team of young managers, and once he was convinced, he would get it done. Despite it may not be an easy idea to sell to the top manager. Now, how does one do that?
So, Narayan, thank you so much. It's nice hearing your voice after 20 years. We were part of a small project team which was created for leading. We were the project team to the BCG to restructure ICICI's backend operations. And it was a new job given to me by the then executive director of the bank. And the only reason it was given to me was only what Narayanan mentioned. The reason it was given was I can collaborate. So that was the only reason it was given. I was low profile and I can collaborate. And that was the only reason I was given the job. And when team members, I used to think, again, it is a question of being devoted. I was fully devoted to my team. My team has to experience the highest level of job satisfaction. This is something which I am very, very convinced about. I feel what is the leader's job? Ultimately, he has to make his subordinates' job satisfaction the highest. So when people used to come with ideas, I used to think now, at least my brain doesn't think of ideas so well as this guy. This guy comes with a damn good idea. How do I make it happen? Then I'm completely devoted to him. And when I'm completely committed to him, Narayanan may not know, I might lose a lot of sleep. Because I want that to work, because I'm committed to him. So I will go and meet any number of people to convince them this is a project worth taking after I have myself convinced myself and done my brainstorming. And Narayan, the only reason I did this was I was committed to you.
Correct, sir. Yes.
I was devoted to you because I felt he's my team member. He has to get happiness. Because in ICICI, people are not happy with their bosses. They are free to move on. They are not enslaved. They move on to other departments. So I know that I have to be committed to this person. And projects was a very new department. We were groping in the dark. We had seniors, much more senior people who were with whom I had to collaborate. I was scale 4 and most of the people were GMs. So I had to go and convince GMs. And again, another response about Kavita mentioned, I didn't report to them. I reported to their boss. So which made it my life very difficult because they used to look at me with suspicion. ये तो चंदा कोचर को रिपोर्ट करता है, ये तो यार ये क्रेडिट पूरा छीन ले जाएगा, मैं कर लूंगा. रवि तू आइडिया लाया ना, I'll do it यार, you get lost. I'll get it done in my department. कहाँ कराना करा लेता हूँ. तुम तो यार ऊपर जाके presentation दिखाओगे. So I knew what was happening, and now that Narayan doesn't know this, but I can tell you, I went once and told her, Madam, your job has to be done. There's one very nice way to do it. Make me report to all the 4 bosses and not to you. She was shocked. She said, Ravi, are you out of your brain? I'm giving you a job where you report to me. I said, it doesn't matter what needs to be done. Your job has to get done. I said, this is the undercurrent. This is the undercurrent. And if I want to manage the undercurrent, I don't mind reporting to these 4 people. Draupadi ban jata hu main. I'll report to 4 guys. And please believe, Narayan, you won't know this. That is how the project got done.
Yes, absolutely, Ravi. I remember.
Because I got ownership. I got ownership.
Yes.
All the 4 people felt that this guy is now reporting to us. And the bigger shock for them was they never thought I will do this. And now they had a problem on hand. Now they have to do the job also. Earlier they had an excuse किया था, आप तो भाई ऊपर report करते हो, अभी तो कुछ नहीं बोल सकते, मैं तो आपको report करता हूँ. So there are varieties of methods of doing. And the other thing is, of course, I must say this is a very small thing. I never do email baji. मुझे problem solve करना, मैं जाके चाय पे चर्चा करता हूँ. I go and meet guys, have a cup of coffee, meet, talk at length, talk about the sky, the stars, the sun, the moon, except the subject matter for which I have come. But when I am going out of the room, I am sure I got my solution. So
That's nice. I'll request Dr. Suresh Kumar to ask his question.
Hey, hi, Ravi ji. Pleasure hearing you. This is a fellow Krishnamurti. I am Suresh Kumar Krishnamurti.
okay.
So I've never had an opportunity to meet up with you in person anytime. Hopefully we do meet up sometime in future. I very much like the candidness. I have heard so many people speaking, and every time, it's like history is about the winner and history rewrites whatever, he rewrites whatever he wants to do. But you have been so candid. I really appreciate that, and the best part that I like is that the grace part that you told about, it is something which is there, we never say grace to anything what we have. And that is the best part, I really appreciate, while everything what you said about is about management and all the stuff, but as an individual and as a human being, I really loved that part. Thank you so much for your, your sharing your experiences, whatever you did, the solutioning, everything, it will really help us, go more learned, I would say. Let it put it that way. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. In fact, this morning when I practiced this in the morning. Yesterday night, me and Rohit were discussing how to position the presentation, what all topics, how to take up everything. I had formed it in my mind, and he had kind of made up those 5-6 slides for me. But in the morning when I got up, I only went and prayed. You can see in the background Sadhguru there. So I went and prayed that today I must do a good job, and I must make sure that I disseminate what you have given to me to hundreds of people. That's the only prayer I made. I forgot what presentation, what topics, nothing I remembered. But I said, I must get you to speak through me. Nothing else I need. And I think that is what is important, because grace is, people miss out on this. People think that their entire logical sense and their imbibed creativity and the DNA passed on through the genes. If I can sing well, it is because of my mother. If I can talk well, it is because of my father. But that is biological. But if there's something beyond that we need to achieve, beyond what the talents we have, the natural talent that each one of us have been given in different proportions, then grace has to descend. So that comes only when you are devoted to it. So today I am devoted to all of you. I think I must be useful to each one of you.
Absolutely. And as you rightly said, if you say that, if you take Karmane Vadikarasya Ma Phaleshu Kadachana, if you look at it, the action is what you do. But the benefits, whatever, whether it is good, bad, ugly, how people reciprocate to that, everything is grace.
True.
True. True.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really, really pleasure hearing you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh Kumar. Raviji, I think that all of us, we are very obsessed with numbers, scores, marks. I think above all, it is something different what the success in life is. I'll request our past president, Madam Chaya Sehgal, to give her comments.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Ravi, for an enchanting morning. It was so nice to start the weekend with your inspiring talk while you were going about your life journey and giving us an account of your failures. I remembered the story of Abraham Lincoln, which we had read sometime, where they talked about all his failures, and then they said, but do you know that he's the person who ended up becoming the president of USA? And I always thought while I went through that write-up that actually it is the account of failures which is more inspiring than the account of success stories. In fact, I always talk to my students that, the way we prepare our CVs and the way we prepare our profiles, we always like to put there, I achieved this, I achieved this, I achieved that. And I do realize that unless I do that, who's going to invite me to talk, right? Because if I start writing, I lost out on this, I couldn't do this, I could not achieve this, this is where everybody went ahead of me, nobody's going to invite me to share my story with anybody. So unfortunately, we have to keep focusing on that. And it is actually that focus which builds so much pressure on youngsters, whether they are at home, whether they are in university, or whether they are in our teams who are our juniors, because they just feel that, they look up to somebody who is more than human, who's beyond normal. And this is where they are supposed to compete with, and this is where they are supposed to reach. And these are the expectations out of them. And that kind of stress actually comes in the way of performance and giving output. So this is actually the real way to inspire somebody, by telling where we failed and how we still worked upon it and how did we come up trumps despite it. And the cherry on top is that at the end of it, we dedicate it all to the divine and say, but none of it did we do. If I can do this, then my father is responsible for this. If I do this, then my mother is responsible for this, because that's the DNA I was born with. So where do I have any credit to take in it? And if this is what happened, and if I can't locate where it comes from, then obviously this was divine charter, and obviously this was divine intervention, and that is how it happened. I mean, after a surgery, how does one run for 21 kilometers? So obviously it's a divine charter. And when that faith strengthens in us and that it brings that humility, the accomplishments continue to pile up on their own. This is something I felt that, my own thoughts and my own beliefs were echoing with your talk and with your beliefs. It's very nice to hear you, all those C's that you spoke about, the creativity, the leadership with consciousness, conceptual clarity and confidence and everything, and the left brain and the right brain. But believe me, you have whatever brain you used, it suited you to use your right brain. The truth is that there is something called Mind Monkey, which one of our professors had spoken about, and he had launched the book here on the BMA platform. You seem to have controlled your mind monkey very, very effectively, and you make it dance to your tunes so well that is one thing I think each one of us needs to learn from this presentation. How to control our own mind monkey so that we can give our best and so that we can realize our best. So thank you so much. It was wonderful. It was inspiring. It was humbling. And now we know where you are, why you are there. It's very important. Actually, it was a reality check, and I feel that this lecture should be preserved, and I think it should be screened in every classroom, whether they are HR students or they are whoever. And I think in all the offices for the junior management, for the new management trainees, and also for the middle management, because this is where they will actually get the key to success. So thank you very much for sharing it with us. And I think we are very, very grateful that we got an opportunity to hear you. Thank you so much for taking out time and being a friend of BMA. Yeah. Okay, Kavita, over to you back. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will request our EC member, CA Shri RSR Murthy to give his comments.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful session. And I think many of us could very easily relate to what you spoke. And your entire talk reminded me of my favorite author, Robin Sharma. When he was told that you're a guru, Robin Sharma refused to accept that he's a guru. And he said, if I'm a guru, then many of you will think that you are not gurus and therefore think, okay, it's all nice for the guru to say all that, but it's not workable for me. Sir, your speech is definitely echoing that thought. I think many of us relate to what you said. It's very inspiring. And thank you very much for a wonderful session. Thank you very much, sir. It's a great way to start this weekend, as Chaya said. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Yes. Thank you. So we thank Shri Ravi Krishnamurthy ji for this wonderful leader speak session, and all of you to join us today for this particular webinar. Next week, 24th, 25th and 26th, we have a packed schedule of Digital Leadership Summit, which is powered by Tata Consulting Services. We have a great list of speakers who will be speaking on digital leadership. Do join us. We will start at 4:30 to 7:30 on 24th and 25th. And on 26th, as usual, we will have our Friday Fundamental, where we are going to listen to the success story of Shri Vinod Lahoti. Looking forward to see you on Digital Leadership Summit as well as the Friday Fundamentals. Thank you very much for joining. And as Raviji said, that BMA is also an entity which is thinking of what you think about yourself, what others think about yourself. That paradox needs to be removed. So do join us to tell us what you think about BMA and what we think in BMA. We will try and remove the paradox. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravi sir.
Thank you very much, my colleagues, my friends.